Alright, y'all, what is going on? This is your man L, Jamal, and recently on this channel I've been talking a lot about the worst Republican cities. And this is no shocker, but a lot of them are located in some of the worst Republican states. And this is what we are here to talk about today. 8 of the worst Republican ran states. We're going to talk about their politics, how they vote, why they do so, and again, what the end result is. This is not to point fingers or to take sides between Republican or Democrat or conservative or liberal, but just to highlight some of the fallacies that might lie within some of these ideologies and what the reality truly is. This is what this is here to do. I truly believe that both of these parties truly have faults, and they have let the American people down in numerous ways. And today we'll be talking about how the Republicans have constantly let their constituents down in these 8 states. So buckle up, get prepared, and if you want to talk about it, come see me. But we're going to get into it. All right, y'all. So the first state we're going to start with is West Virginia. Population just over 1.5 million people. Now, this is a Republican stronghold through and through, with a Republican governor, Jim Justice, 2 U.S. senators here. One of them is Democrat, but he's a conservative, Joe Manchin, so I pretty much consider him to be a Republican in disguise. Your Republican senator is Shelley Moore Capito, and we have 3 members of the House of Representatives, all Republican, including Kara Miller. Now, one of the biggest issues here facing West Virginia is income. Now, the income per capita here is $26,480. Now, this is for women, and for men, the income per capita is $34,103, both near the bottom of the 50 states. Their total household income, is going to be $62,843. Again, near the bottom of the U.S. Now, there's a poverty rate here that is 17.6, one of the highest in the nation. Now, one of the biggest factors attributing to this is the loss of the coal industry. Coal was an extremely important part of West Virginia. Now, mining in general only makes up 3% of employment opportunities. The largest employers here include West Virginia University Medicine, Walmart, and CAMC healthcare systems. Now, I think West Virginia is in a very difficult situation because I don't believe it just has the setup to go, solar or wind power. I don't know what they got in terms of their geography is really crazy, but the problem is the global consumption and global need for coal has gone down. So if you're not meeting those pricing needs, you're getting priced out by these foreign places, foreign markets. So West Virginia, without having those extra industries going on, they failed to to help themselves. And when this industry went down, they had no answers. Coal exports have gone down 40% since 2013. So again, the demand of coal in general is down. So it's affected jobs and production and what West Virginia can do. Because again, they had no real other industries formed around what's in the state, and there might not be a whole lot of stuff that you can build something on. Again, this is a mountainous terrain, so wind might be possible, power maybe, solar, that might be a different monster, but again, that was their claim to fame. In a lot of states and areas and regions, areas and cities in this, region of the Appalachians, that's what it was, coal, for so many years. And people have relied on that, and they went to those jobs, and their family worked those jobs. And again, you don't want to judge those people too harshly because that's all they knew. So, but that's what you have now. And since there's no real jobs that fit, people's skill set, what they have been previously doing, or there's lack of jobs in general, period. There's a large unemployment sector here, one of the largest in the nation. Again, there's a large percentage of people that receive federal assistance. And this is one of the things that the Republicans point out against Democratic cities and states and their policies, is that they're too giving to the people. But there's a lot of people here struggling as well. But they don't talk about this part. I will. And remember how Trump said he was going to bring those factories back, and he's going to bring coal back to West Virginia? Where is it? Where is it, guys? I thought he was going to bring those jobs back. Think he was just talking? Yeah. Okay. Well, West Virginia has a significant drug problem as well. And this is some stats, according to the National Institute of Drug Abuse. Now, drug deaths here, and this is synthetic prescription opioids and heroin, have declined, but it's still at a 42.4 death rate. And this is one of the highest. This is the highest in the nation. There's a 13.1 death rate for prescription opioids, still the highest in the nation. It's down from 17.2 in 2017, but hey, still higher than everywhere else. There's a 9.9 overall drug overdose rate. Again, the highest overdose rate in the country. Now, on the flip side, if we look at a Democratic state, or in this case, it's not technically a state, it's D.C. D.C. has a very high percentage of people, that abuse drugs as well. However, Washington provides more resources in, getting clean, job placement, kind of housing, just like areas in Northern California, Southern California as well, that, cater to those demographics. So again, if you're looking to quit drugs, if you're looking to get away from that environment, despite what the media might tell you, particularly on the right wing, particularly these other YouTube guys, if you're trying to get off of drugs, I'd rather be in Washington, D.C., where you're going to get those resources and be able to go somewhere for free and get taken care of, than to be in West Virginia, where they seem to be in denial of your problem and also keeping you in your problem. And I'm going to tell you why. They're actually working against these people here. In 2018, there was a prescription opioid use rate of 69 out of 100 people here in West Virginia, and that's higher than the national average of 51.4. Huntington and Cable counties have filed lawsuits against McKesson and AmerisourceBergen, and also Cardinal Health. McKesson and AmerisourceBergen have already settled in Ohio for the same issues with overdoses, drug use rates going up, for $260 million. Now, peep this stat here. Drug distributors have delivered 1.1 billion opioid pills to the state of West Virginia between 2016 and 2014. 9 million pills will go to one pharmacy in the town of Kermit with just 300 people. Now, you tell me that ain't similar to what they try to do with black people in crack, you tell me. Healthcare system in West Virginia ranks dead last in terms of public health services. They rank 44th in infant death rate. That means it's one of the higher ones in the nation. They're 50th in mental health services, and they're 35th in homicide rates. In terms of infrastructure, again, West Virginia ranks very poorly. 49th in internet access, 49th in transportation. 31% of roads are in poor condition. That's compared to the national average of 19.9%. Again, West Virginia is in the Appalachian Mountains. Crazy terrain. Again, they don't have the ends and the means economically anymore to really put on and put into that. So again, that's what you got. Poor circumstances for those people. I wish them better circumstances, but again, these politicians truly don't care, and it don't matter what side. Let's move on to Kentucky. Population almost 4.5 million. There's a mixed government here with a Democratic governor and Lieutenant Governor Andy Beshear and Jacqueline Coleman, respectively, although they kind of get their shade respectively as well, and it's earned. But both of their senators are Republican, including Mitch McConnell, yes, him, and Rand Paul. Damn, I know y'all. Well, we're going to get deeper. 5 members of the U.S. House of Representatives are Republican. The majority of registered voters here are Democrat, but the state hasn't voted for a Democrat in terms of the presidential election since 1996. Trump actually carried 62% of the vote here in 2020. So it's fair to say it's a more conservative leaning state. Now, the question is, what's the problem here in Kentucky? Well, it starts off with healthcare. Now, healthcare overall ranks 16th. Well, in terms of access. However, it's 46 in Kentucky rates 46 in healthcare quality and also public health, services. There's a 36.4 obesity rate here. The national average is 32. Americans in general are just bigger people. Again, I'm on the bigger side. I'm not judging. I'm trying to lose mine. I get it. However, Kentucky don't make it easy to take care of yourself. That's what I'm saying here. That's the point. Just saying. I bet you they voted against Obamacare and didn't want it because it said Obamacare, even though it was really Affordable Health Care Act. I'm just saying. Anyways, the employment and the economy here is also near the bottom. Kentucky ranks 45th in overall employment. We have a median income per capita of $27,448, and 55.8% of children are economically disadvantaged in the school systems. Kentucky ranked 48th in financial stability, and 18% of people are in poverty. This is Kentucky ranks 48th in terms of that. So that's the third highest in the nation, third highest poverty rate in the nation. The unemployment rate had gone up 10.2% last year, and it's slowly growing, but only in certain fields like tourism, for some reason, hospitality, in certain niche places. So it ain't popping like that. So no jobs, you ain't making no money, and like I said, it's hard to take care of your health here in Kentucky. It's also hard to take care of your health in Oklahoma as well. Oklahoma population 3.9 million. Again, the Republican stronghold. Republican governor, Lieutenant Governor Kevin Stitt is the governor. Matt Pinnell is your lieutenant governor. Both senators are Republican, and so are all members of the House of Representatives. 50% of the voters here are Republican. But again, they ain't got no health care. Oklahoma ranks 48th out of 50 states, 48th in access and 45th in quality, with 20.5% of people without health care insurance. Why? I'll tell you why. Because the governor attempted to restrict Medicaid expansion. What is Medicaid? Income adults, the elderly, those with disabilities, and it's funded by state and federal governments. Okay, so this is what Mr. Kevin Stitt wanted to do. He wanted to prevent Medicaid by using a managed care policy. Now, what is this? Well, this is when a certain organization or private insurance provider will give out these specific health services to insured members for a monthly fee. With Medicaid, though, 200,000 more Oklahomans would have been able to receive health care regardless of their financial situation, and they wouldn't have to pay. Got you. Now, Stitt's plan just gave $2 million to just 4 private insurance companies. So he put the money in private business and left the people without health care. That's Oklahoma, but they'll tell you it's a good state. It's not California. It's not New York. It's not this. It's not Oregon. It's not Portland. But you ain't got no health care. Anyway, you also got a really bad crime situation here as well. Oklahoma ranks 44th in the nation in overall crime, 43rd in public safety. But I thought Republicans were all about law and order. Apparently, that's another lie. There's a incarceration rate of 639 individuals out of 1,000, higher than the national average of 419. There's 432 violent crimes out of 1,000 people, higher than the national average of 379. You have a 1 in 35 chance of being a victim of a property crime. The property crime rate here is 28.5, higher than the national average of 21. There's a theft rate of 18.36, higher than the national average of 15.5. So they're stealing from you, they're mugging you, they're doing all type of shit to you in Oklahoma, but you love it because it's not what? It's not liberal. Anyway, schools, education, high school graduation rate is 81% lower than the national average of 85.5. the schools here are 42nd in terms of preschool, ranked 42nd out of 50 in terms of pre-K to 12th grade schools, and they also rank near the bottom of their secondary institutions as well. That's what it is. That's Oklahoma. It's not California. It's not Portland. It's not liberals. Just saying. All right, y'all. So the next state we are going to discuss is South Carolina. Population just over 5 million. Now, the governor here is Henry McMaster, and the lieutenant governor is Pamela Yvette, of course, both Republicans. And the two U.S. senators are the notorious Lindsey Graham and also Mr. Tim Scott, a.k.a. McMaster. And the GOP told me to tell y'all that racism no longer exists, and I'm here to just get the Negroes to vote for the Republican Party. There's 6 Republicans in the House of Representatives and 1 Democrat, and the state hasn't voted for a Democrat in the presidential election since 1976 with Jimmy Carter, and haven't voted for a Democratic governor since 1998. Now, what are the issues here in South Carolina, you ask? Well, despite what Republicans and Fox News would have you believe, there's a crime problem here, just like anywhere else in America. They have one of the higher incarceration rates for youth at 94 out of 100 kids. The national average is 85 out of 100. Now, the violent crime rate here is 511, and the national average is just 311. So there's a lot of violent crime being done here as well. So homicide, assault, things of that nature. You have a 1 in 34 chance of being a victim of a property crime as well. We have a theft rate of 21.16 compared to the national average of 15.5, and we have 33 crimes per square mile compared to just the national average of 28. Now, South Carolina also ranks 46 in public safety. Another issue here in South Carolina are the schools and the education system. The pre-K to 12th grade schools rank 42nd in the nation, and the post-second institutions rank 45th, with 81% of kids graduating high school. Now, college graduates will enter the workforce in South Carolina with $31,524 of debt compared to just the national average of $28,996. And unfortunately, 62% of the kids in the school system are economically disadvantaged. So, high crime here in South Carolina and not so good schools. But it's not the worst. It's not the worst of the states here. Let's move on. We're going to go to Arkansas, population just over 3 million. Again, another Republican stronghold with Asa Hutchinson as your governor and Tim Griffin as your lieutenant governor. Both senators are Republican, John Boozman and Tom Cotton, and all 4 members of the House of Representatives are Republican. Now, just like so many of the states here in the South, and not just in the South, but on this list in general, access to healthcare is ranked poorly. Now, access to healthcare in Arkansas is ranked at 40th in the nation, with quality being ranked dead last, and public health services at 48th in the nation. Now, so access to healthcare is ranked really low, and the quality is shit. So there you go. There's also a crime problem here as well. They have a violent crime rate in Arkansas of 586 out of 100,000 people, and it just keeps getting worse. And the employment here isn't good either. Arkansas ranks 44th in employment. They have an unemployment rate of 5.4%, which is a little bit lower than the national average, but not so much. But they do rank 48th in median household income at $44,000, and that's a combined, of course, salary. Now, so again, their unemployment rate is it's a little low. They have some jobs, but they're not paying anything. You're not living. It won't. You're not being. You're not doing anything with it. Arkansas has one of the highest rates of welfare recipients. Again, the jobs aren't paying you anything. The job growth here is at 0.7%. Of course, some of the biggest employers here include Walmart, which is the biggest employer, Tyson Foods, also J.B. Hunt, and the income per capita here is one of the lowest in the nation at $26,577 with a poverty rate of 16.2%. So again, yeah, they'll try to tell you, oh, we're going to bring these jobs, Yeah, but the jobs aren't going to pay anything, and you're still going to be living in poverty. That's Arkansas. Let's move on to Alabama. Population almost 5 million. The governor here is Kay Ivey. The lieutenant governor is Will Ainsworth. And the senators here, of course, 2 Republicans, Richard Shelby, Tommy Tuberville. And the House of Representatives, we have 6 Republicans and 1 Democrat. Again, Alabama has issues with healthcare and providing healthcare for its residents. Alabama ranks 45th in public health services and 45th in public health services and healthcare access, and 49th in healthcare affordability. So you don't really got no healthcare. You ain't got no public health services, and you can't even afford whatever it is that they have to offer. Life expectancy in Alabama is 3 years shorter than the national average of 78 years. That is the lowest in the country. So 75 years, you live to be about 75 years old in Alabama. That is the lowest life expectancy in the country. There's no abortions here at all, no matter what your situation is. Diabetes rates went up from 11.8% to 14% from 2017 to 2021, as well as mental distress went up from 13.9 to 17.5. Now let's talk about the schools and the education opportunities here. Well, now Alabama has a high school graduation rate that is actually 5th in the nation, and is actually higher than the national average, mind you. It's at 90%. However, Alabama ranks 44th in college readiness. That'll come back in just a second. By the way, corporal punishment still exists here and in Arkansas. Back to that college readiness stat. Secondary institutions in Alabama rank 44th in attainment, which means graduation, which means, of course, completion, right? Well, why do you think the attainment rate is so low in Alabama? Could it have anything to do with the high schools not preparing you for it? I think it has a lot to do with it. However, the University of Alabama is a top 100 university out there in Tuscaloosa. Crime and safety, again, despite what they'll tell you about the shitholes in California and everywhere else on the coast and the East Coast, and it's not Seattle. There's crime here in Alabama as well. Actually, Alabama itself ranks 44th in public safety with a violent crime rate of 511 out of 100 people. There's a 1 in 32 chance of being a victim of a property crime. That's a 28.17 rate. They have a violent crime rate of 5.2, the highest in the nation. Oh, okay. Well, moving on to Alaska. We talked about Alaska City so many on both my 2 lists about the city. So let's get into the state. It ain't that much better. Population 731,545. Of course, we have a Republican governor here, Mike Dunleavy. Kevin Mayer is the Senate governor. 2 Republican senators, Lisa Murkowski, Dan Sullivan, and your member of the House of Representatives in Washington is also Republican, Don Young. The majority of registered voters here are also Republican. Now let's talk about the biggest issues facing Alaska right now, and there's a lot. There is a lot. First, we're going to start off with the economy, income here. We have a negative 1.1% job decrease happening here. There is $35,921 per income per capita here, which is good because you do have a lot of jobs still in that oil industry, which do pay. You do have that going on. However, the unemployment rate is 6.7% in Alaska compared to the national average of 5.8%. Now, any given day, 1,949 people will experience homelessness, and that is 10% of the state's population. And at any point in time, 188 kids aged 18 to 24 will experience homelessness as well, or young adults, I should say. Alaska's oil production would reach its peak in 1988, but it has slumped 75% since then, with the oil reserves actually taking a 60% plus hit since then as well. So lower production, of course, lower actual reserves, and Alaska's economy has pretty much been tethered to that oil industry, since its inception. That's what made it, as wealthy as it has been. So with that industry taking a hit due to these different factors, of course, global oil prices as well, this is what you have here, and that is where the majority of jobs that have been here in the state, that's where they've been at. So when that industry starts to go down, there's not a lot of other things going on in that state, you're asked out. Also, a big issue here is the education in the schools here. Alaska's pre-K to 12th grade schools rank 49th in the nation. Alaska's high school graduation rate is 49th in the nation at 78.5%. And students usually test in the lower percentiles in math and, of course, reading and English. In an attempt to keep the best and the brightest students in the state, the University of Alaska will give out partial 4-year scholarships to the top 10% of Alaskan students. So again, there's an attempt to kind of keep people here because they know what's going on. I mean, it's cold as hell here. If you're not working in the oil rigs or somewhere in the energy, which there's not a whole lot of other jobs there, again, oil is the primary, and maybe some fishing. You might be able to do some aquatic stuff. Of course, there's some military jobs there. I would guess, but again, people are getting their stuff together, and when they can go, it looks like they're trying to leave, especially particularly students in that regard. Crime is a big issue here as well. Now, Alaska has a violent crime rate of 867 out of 100,000 people. That is well higher than the national average of 379. The assault rate here is 5.96. That's higher than the national average of 2.5. It is second in the nation to Washington, D.C. though. But again, Alaska and Washington, D.C. have just about the same amount of people. So think about that. The property crime rate is almost 30 here. It's 29.11 in Alaska. The national average is 20. It's just 21, so it's well above the national average. And there's a 1 in 34 chance of being a victim of a property crime. Again, it's so remote in some of these areas. There's not a lot of police. Alaska also has a has an issue where there's only so many police officers for so many people in that a specific town or in a specific area. And again, like I said, that state is so spread out and so remote, it makes it easier to get away with a lot of more stuff. So these crime rates are real. I mean, people don't want to say it, but I'm gonna say it. When you have higher rates, significantly higher rates of crime and things like violent crime, like that's 867 out of 100,000. That's rampant. I know they don't want to say this. You won't even hear this on like the left wing because again, it's a lot of these places are mostly Caucasian. So again, they don't want to make them. I'm just thinking it's about making themselves look bad. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's rampant. That's a rampant. If it was to describe a city like Oakland, California, or a state like California that's liberal, they would have said rampant crime, rampant homelessness. They don't want to use these terms here, and I wonder why. I just want to ask y'all that. Why aren't these terms used here? There's rampant crime here in Alaska. You have a theft rate of 15.5, and that is just at the national average. Aggravated assault made up 68% of Alaska's crime. That is rampant. That's a rampant problem. Aggravated assault is a rampant problem in this state. Now, not only do these crimes, Alaska is a notorious state towards crimes and violence towards women. Let's just get into it, y'all. 59% of women in Alaska have experienced domestic violence and or sexual violence. Alaska also has the highest homicide rate of women in any state at 3.4. It is known as the most dangerous state for women. There is also a total of 3,433 registered sex offenders in Alaska. That's 490 sex offenders per 100,000. That's 84% higher than the national average. So again, rampant crime, shit schools, a couple shithole cities, and again, we have one of the worst states here in Alaska. And we're not done here. A couple more facts here. Alaska ranks 28th in urban air quality and 50th in water quality. There you go. Let's move on to Mississippi. Population almost 3 million. Of course, This has been a Republican, area for so long here, at least since the switch in the 60s and everything. But the governor here is Tate Reeves. The lieutenant governor is Delbert Hosemann. There are 2 Republican senators, 3 members of the House of Representatives. All 3 are Republican. And again, we started off with healthcare issues, and we're going to end off with healthcare issues. Mississippi is rated as the worst state in the nation for healthcare overall. And it ranks second to last in healthcare access, quality, and public health services. 40.8% of the population here is obese. Again, the national average is 32%, which is significant, but again, 40% is a lot higher than 32%. 19.5% of residents live without health insurance. The Mississippi Center for Advanced Medicine had a recent data breach revealing names, addresses, social security numbers, etc. So again, poor healthcare services, they're being hacked. The infrastructure, the healthcare infrastructure is being hacked. And we're just getting started. Again, there's obesity. You can't afford to take care of yourself. Again, you can't afford health insurance. Again, like I said, we're just getting started. And in Mississippi, pre-K to 12th grade schools are ranked 49th in the nation. They rank 43rd in overall education, and 49th in college readiness. So again, the secondary schools are not performing so well. Pre-K to 12, of course, they're inadequate, and you're not getting prepared for college in the least bit. Not at all. Don't even try to go. If you want to get kids through high school and you want your kid to go to college one day, I wouldn't live in Mississippi. That's what that fact tells me. The Warren-Vicksburg School District was recently, oh my God, another hack here. Mississippi, y'all got it bad. Warren-Vicksburg School District was hacked with ransomware, and personal information and school documents were released as well. They got like 10 gigabytes of data that was breached. Teachers were only notified 2 weeks after it happened. This happened in May. This happened a while back, of course. I forgot about this when I was getting these notes together. I was like, wow, Mississippi, y'all ain't got no cyber protection. But that's what happens when you ain't got no infrastructure. And you don't put no money into, into certain areas and trying to invest in educating your people. Also, favoritism exists here as well. I think his name is Gregory Reeder, John McWright, Luke Montgomery, Ray Parker, Teresa Hubbard, and William Sims all were appointed to institutions of higher learning after they basically gave up some donations ranging from $2,500 to $80,000 to the governor, Mr. Reeves, and they were given these positions, like I said, in Mississippi. And like I said, the institutions of higher learning oversees the state's public universities. So again, they were given these positions on this board, and they pretty much oversee, I would understand, the policy changes in the universities, or certain protocols. Again, we got favoritism here, and this is all bad. Let's talk about the economy and the income here. There's 0.1% job growth going on here, so not really any jobs coming to Mississippi. They rank 49th in labor force participation rate. That's because I don't think they're educating their people. On top of that, their unemployment rate is over the national average at 6%. They have a $7.25 minimum wage. The income per capita is $24,519. The minimum household income is $45,792. $19,000 lower than the national average. Mississippi has the highest poverty rate in the nation at 19%, and the national average of poverty is just 12%. So ridiculously higher than the national average, and Mississippi ranks dead last in economic opportunity. So you don't have a chance due to, of course, employment opportunities. Again, there's no jobs to really speak of to get. Nobody's really working here. You don't have a great wage to start off with, and your education is not going to take you anywhere in Mississippi. So again, you won't even have a chance to get yourself out of your situation in Mississippi. Infrastructure: 48th in internet access, 47th in public transportation usage. The state would need $4 billion to improve their drinking water systems, because 30 to 50% of treated water can actually be lost. Is actually being lost due to leaks and breaks in their old ass water systems. Due to poor funding and inflation, 40% of public roads are in poor condition. That is 2 times the national rate. And 25% of rural roads are in poor condition as well. The average driver will spend an extra $820 per year in repair costs living in Mississippi. And this is according to infrastructurereportcard.org. Again, y'all, we can listen to the media tell us about shitholes in California. We can listen to them tell us about the shitholes in all these different cities that are ran by whomever. But they're here and they need to be fixed. And this is a problem that we are having. We have 2 parties here pushing us against each other with these different ideals, with these different policies. And again, on the surface, they do sound good. But in reality, we know what it is. There's high poverty in Democratic cities. We know that there's high poverty in Republican cities. There's poor schools in Republican states. There's poor education opportunities in states such as California that are liberal. Let's just keep it real here. The nation as a whole is falling apart, and it's the fault of both parties, and that's it. It's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's these 2 parties that have sold us out to the corporations and for their own personal interests in order for us to just keep us voting. And that's where we're at, guys. So I'm going to leave some links available for you guys. I know we went in this time around, but I feel like I had to. There's a lot of information I wanted to share. So peace out, one love, and I'll let you guys later.